We're excited to bring you this all-new show this week. We have 4 fun topics that are going to be helpful for your retirement planning. First, how to beat the retirement tax bomb. What is a tax bomb and what does that mean for you? Roth conversion timing. We've talked a lot about Roth conversions over the years in this show, but what about the timing of that? A fun little segment here that John's bringing his kids into the TV studio and talking about retirement planning. What does it mean from maybe a 7-8-year-old's perspective on what retirement is? And wrapping up the show this week, some behaviors that could be hurting your retirement plan. All this and much, much more coming up right now.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Hey, welcome to this segment on how to beat the retirement tax bomb. When people come into our office, it is easy a lot of times for them to understand their investment risk. They watch the news, they watch the fluctuating values in their accounts. They can understand and they can feel that. But one risk that they don't always identify easily with is what is called the tax risk. You know, how tax diversified are your portfolios? Let's first start this with defining what is a tax bomb. A tax bomb could be considered an event or something that happens in life that forces you to go up to the next tax bracket that proper strategic planning in the years prior could have helped to avoid. For example, you're loving your retirement, you get to age 72, all of a sudden the government through an RMD is saying you need to take this money out of those tax deferred accounts, and you go from the 12% tax bracket to the 22% tax bracket. That would be an example of a tax bomb. How do you avoid those? What are some strategies? There's a lot, but I'm going to start with some facts. If you were to look at the history of taxes right now, we are actually over the last 100 years in a historically low tax environment. We also have to take into consideration that through the coronavirus, the federal government, pushed out over $3 trillion. And so the question I think you should really answer to yourself would be, where do you think taxes are going? If you think taxes are going down, maybe you don't have to have a lot of action items. Maybe you don't have a lot of tax risk at that point. But if you feel like taxes are going up, then I think you're going to want to identify some numbers in your own portfolio and figure out a tax plan to help mitigate the tax time bomb that might be ticking. So here's a quick little activity. Just go to all your tax deferred accounts, add up all of the money that you have in your 401k, traditional IRAs, SEP, simple IRAs, all of those tax deferred accounts, and just get a number. And then right next to that number, go to your Roth IRA or your Roth 401k. Add up all the money that you've saved in those tax-free bucket and compare the two. And you'll be able to see how tax diversified you are. You'll also be able to see how much tax risk you might have. When clients come in, it is common for us to see, over 75% of their entire retirement savings in these tax deferred accounts. So we get to immediately say it's time to strategize. It's time to figure out how to diffuse that ticking time tax bomb that's in their portfolios. It's the best part of our job. We run mock tax returns, and we have a team member on our staff that does an incredible job of predicting and showing those different tax opportunities each tax year. It's not something that it's a one time and you're done. It's something that has to happen year in and year out. We identify the tax opportunities. We look at the different strategies. Roth IRA conversions is a very common one that we use. And so what we're trying to do is minimize or be tax efficient with our clients. So if you are at all curious about, hey, am I a candidate for Roth conversions? There is a lot that you're going to want to know about those, and they're very individualized. They have to be personalized. There's way too many different variables that go into these instruments in order for them to, for you to understand if it's the right fit for you. So feel free to give us a call, and we would love to sit down and help you plan to retire well.
Well, that was great, Nick. Jack talking about, the tax bomb out there and diffusing the bomb. Sometimes, we poke fun at these tax situations, but oftentimes you don't even know you're sitting on the bomb, and I think people overlook that over the years. When we get a chance to sit down and talk to people and do tax planning and get into all that, it can be, I think, a little scary for people, but then also rewarding when we can maybe get to try to see how we can help.
Yeah, and sometimes when people come to us a little bit later in retirement, they weren't necessarily aware of Roth conversions and potentially planning for that tax bomb down the road, but there's still options out there. Primarily, yes, we're going to focus on Roth conversions early in retirement, but I just had a case where a couple came in and they were older, they were already starting RMDs, and they didn't need the money, right? Well, what they found out to save them some money on taxes, they were already contributing to their church and local charities. They used the majority of their RMD as qualified charitable contributions to get that tax deduction and satisfy that RMD. So there's a little bit of tax planning that you can still do to help diffuse that tax bomb later in life. Ideally, though, we do want to start young and do those Roth conversions.
That's a great point, Nick. Getting to, oftentimes I think people feel trapped or frustrated that they miss the opportunity, and it's a good reminder that, no matter what age you are, whether you're early on and you're just contributing, or you're maybe in that RMD age, there's still options out there, for that. And I think QCDs are a great example of that, of how you may be able to do that. But if you're somebody you're in that contribution phase of your life, you really have to sit down and look, should I be deferring or should I be kind of paying these taxes now, and what am I saving by doing that? In many cases, when you look at the advantages and disadvantages of that, you might be surprised at what you get to. If you're somebody that's later in retirement, considering all your options that you have out there and making sure that plan is detailed and includes a tax plan.
Yeah, lots of great information there, Art. Thank you so much for that. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss what's coming up next. We're going to be talking about Roth conversion timing, and we're going to hear from some kids on their thoughts on retirement.
NMC Extended Education is offering an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Plan to Retire Well, presented by Jack Klunder, financial advisor at Centennial Wealth Advisory, and a former educator of personal finance and mathematics. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big three are healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesdays, September 21st and 28th, from 6 to 9 p.m. at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. Again, that number is 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets.
Let's talk about Roth conversion timing. When you're trying to time the market, that can be an impossible task, and so you want to look, though, potentially at the idea of if you're seeing your IRA, traditional IRA, down in value, and you think, well, maybe the market's at a lower point than I think it might be a year or 2 or 3 years from now, then that might be the ultimate time to look at converting a portion of your traditional IRA over to Roth IRA. Now, there's a lot of different things to be factoring into this, such as taxation and where your income stands, but I want you to be thinking about that when you're seriously looking at doing a Roth conversion and trying to figure out when the right time might be. So when it comes to paying your taxes, ideally you want to be paying the tax from an after-tax account. So if you were to convert $20,000 from your IRA over to Roth IRA, and let's just use, for example, that your tax liability is $3,500 in that example. Ideally, you'd want to pay that from the after-tax account, so that way your $20,000 that you converted is still $20,000 in your Roth IRA. But you can, if you don't have that money sitting aside in an after-tax savings account as an example, then you can always have the taxes withheld from your IRA when you transition or convert that over to Roth IRA. So in that example, the $20,000, withhold the $3,500 for federal and state taxes, and now you have $16,500 in Roth IRA, but now it's tax-free and the growth will be tax-free as well. You want to be careful of this though if you're under age 59 and a half, and if you're wanting to do a Roth conversion, you can do that Roth conversion, but as far as withholding the taxes from the IRA to pay that, you may be exposed to a 10% early withdrawal penalty. So in a situation like that, ideally, again, you would be paying the tax from an after-tax account. One of the terms that we always talk about on the show here is tax bracket optimization. And with that, we're essentially saying if you're in a position where, let's imagine you're a married couple in the 12% tax bracket, but maybe you have room of another $20,000, as I continue to use in this example, where you would still be in the 12% tax bracket. Well, maybe it makes sense to fill out that 12% bracket by doing a Roth conversion. And if you're younger than age 59 and a half, when does it make sense there? Well, if your income is lower, perhaps, and if you anticipate, well, my income's going to be higher down the road and maybe in a higher tax bracket, maybe it makes sense to convert now when you're in a lower tax bracket, and then you get the benefits of the tax-free growth. So Roth conversions are definitely something you'd want to sit down with us, have a conversation, and better understand if that makes sense for you.
When you have confidence in your retirement future, you can live the life you've always imagined. Because of planning, you now have time to reflect on the wonderful memories of your life. You and your spouse finally have the luxury of leisure time together. To spend fun times with your grandkids, sharing the joy of their excitement about life. Smiling at the thought of quality time with your children and of picking up the check. At last, you have time to breathe and rekindle the love of your life. Why? Because you imagined what could be. You planned for retirement. So today, you own your future.
Welcome to a special edition here on Retiring Well we call Kids Corner. I'm here with my children Isaac, Noah, and Emma, and I'm going to be running through some retirement planning questions with them, so stay tuned. Of course, this is not investment advice, and Isaac is not a financial professional, but what stock, if you could invest in a company right now, or maybe a couple of different companies, what are some of those companies that you might want to invest in?
None of them are really doing well right now, so I don't know.
Okay. But what if the economy or in the market was a little different, what might you be interested in?
Probably Apple.
Apple? Okay, why Apple?
There's no reason.
And Noah here is not a financial professional, but if you could pick some different stocks that you might want to invest in, what might those be?
I would probably pick Amazon because
Okay.
it's like famous.
Okay, Amazon's one, all right.
Like I would pick all the stocks that are like more well known
Okay,
and people like buy
okay.
and those kind of things, like Coca-Cola or something.
All right, in this part, it's not investment advice, and Emma here is not a financial professional.
Amazon.
Amazon, okay.
Samsung.
Amazon.
So I'm going to start you off here. You hold that with $100, all right? So scenario number one, we're 1 year later, and give that $100 back to me. The market didn't cooperate. So your $100 is now worth $50. How are you feeling?
Upset.
Ripped off.
Ripped off.
Sad.
Sad, okay. But hey, good news, you made 50% profit. That's pretty good. But now what are you worth?
Now it's 75.
75, yep. And then, so that's after 2 years. Then the third year, though, you made another $40.
So that would be 150.
$115, correct, yep. So how did you feel during that? No, you don't get to keep it, but how did you feel during that little exercise?
It was kind of up and down.
Yeah, upset a little bit at first because it went down, but then, hey, it came back up and maybe felt a little better. Yeah. All right, now, another exercise. You start with your $100, all right?
Okay.
Year one, here's 5.
Okay.
So you're at?
105.
Okay, year two, another 5. You're at?
110.
And year 3, another 5.
115.
So, how did you feel during that process?
All good.
It went so much slower. You didn't get as much money like every time.
Right. But you also didn't, I never took money away. You never lost money in that example. So.
Well, I didn't earn as much in a year. I only earned $5.
Right, but what happened every year though?
I got more.
Yep, it was just sort of steady and consistent, wasn't it? Pretty boring, wasn't it? But you ended up with the same dollar amount. So again, for those of you investors out there, keep that in mind when you're comparing different types of accounts and how you may want to structure your retirement plan. Smile for the camera.
Another great segment there on Roth conversion timing. The old saying, timing is everything. Well, it does play an important role in a lot of things, right? Over in the Gaylord office, I had a great case where an older gentleman, over the age of 72 to be precise, didn't think he could actually do those Roth conversions anymore because he was too old and he had already started RMDs. As it turns out, he could actually do those Roth conversions, and based on his situation, it made a perfect sense to do it at this time in his life. You see, his plan for those IRA funds was to eventually leave them to his children. He was forced to take RMDs, which he doesn't need the income from, so he's taking the RMDs and he's going to convert the most that he can within his married filing joint tax bracket to Roth so that he could pass those Roth funds on to his son, who happens to be in a single filer bracket. So he's essentially paying the taxes now for this son so that when he passes away, his son is not going to be stricken with another tax obligation by having to spend the IRA money inherited from his father. So in this gentleman's case, timing, although later in life, still worked out great for his situation, being that he was legacy minded.
Yeah, and what I love about that story is that you don't know what you don't know. And so if you have a question about tax, Roth conversion, tax planning, please give us a call. You know, constantly, that's the value we get to add to our clients. We get to figure out what are they trying to accomplish, And then what is some different options in path forward to reach that goal? You know, when a client comes in and says, hey, I'm really legacy minded, I want to give, you know, this, gift this to my kids, well, there is a huge tax component to that. And understanding the rules and understanding the options is crucial to help being tax efficient, to help yourself become tax diversified, and ultimately to help reach your goals. And the other thing that I loved in the second segment there was just the innocent, pure hearts of those little children as they try to figure out what retirement looks like and what it means. And it's just a fun little episode there. So stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about things that might be hurting your retirement. Stay tuned.
When it comes to your financial future, what's the value of a truly objective opinion? As someone looking for financial guidance, you have choices. There are thousands of captive financial professionals who work as employees for large national insurance companies and brokerages. There are also many independent financial professionals who aren't bound to any given insurance company, investment strategy, or product. So what's the difference, and why does it really matter to you? Consider this. If you walked into a doctor's office with a sore throat, a bad cough, and a high fever, you'd expect that doctor to assess your symptoms, do a thorough diagnosis, and ultimately hand you a prescription written to cure your particular ailment. In other words, you'd expect the doctor to consider all the medications available and give you his or her absolute best thinking on what's best for you. On the other hand, if that doctor opened the cupboard and only had 3 or 4 prescriptions available, maybe those offered by his or her favorite pharmaceutical rep, most patients would immediately raise an eyebrow, suspicious that they might not be getting what was really in their best interest. The same may be true for your financial well-being. If your financial professional is an employee who's contractually bound to represent a given insurance or investment company, only offering their products while there are literally hundreds of others available, how sure can you be that you're being offered what's truly best for your situation? You don't walk into a tailor or seamstress shop to get clothing off some rack. You go for a custom-tailored fit. And with something as important as your financial future at hand, the stakes are even higher. We believe you deserve a truly objective opinion. We think you deserve to consider more of the available options. And we believe your financial future is worth a custom-tailored prescription to help you feel confident for the days ahead. If you'd like a second opinion on your current retirement strategy, simply contact our office today.
Let's talk about behaviors that you may be having that could be hurting your retirement. So I'm talking to you individuals out there that are maybe nearing retirement or even maybe further off than maybe 10 plus years out there or very early on in retirement. There's 3 things out there that I see often that potentially could be impacting in a negative way your retirement. The first one, not planning or procrastinating to having a retirement plan. Whether you're still got 10, 20 years left of working or early in retirement, having that retirement plan is vital. And I'm not just talking about a group of investments and diversification and all that. I'm talking about an income plan, investment plan, tax plan, estate plan, long-term care, health care, all these sort of things. What is that plan of yours? And once again, whether you have 20 years left, having that plan so you have something to work towards. You know, Zig Ziglar once said, you know, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time, right? So having that plan that you can zero in on and know what you're working towards. The other thing that's out there is being too optimistic about your budget. So, you know, oftentimes I think either people don't have a budget or they think, you know what, I don't spend that much on groceries or gas or vacation or extras sort of thing. As we get into retirement planning, you know, we have to figure out what income you need, right? And oftentimes that's going to come from a budget. What do you need to live on and be able to do the things that you want to do? And as you're planning for that retirement, making sure you're mapping out these things that you've dreamed of doing. You know, vacations, maybe it's a second home, maybe it's the hobbies, you have extra time to golf or go fishing or something like that. So making sure all these things are in there, but be realistic about that and what you think that you're going to spend. Don't think that in retirement you're just going to cut everything and want to do nothing. Now you have this time to be able to do stuff and enjoy things. And the third thing is that when we're thinking about that is, I call it not thinking like a retired person, okay? When you're retired, it's like 20 to 30 years of unemployment. We need to generate income over that time so that way we have a paycheck coming in consistently. So thinking like a retired person is, where is these paychecks going to be coming from? Maybe you have pension, maybe there's Social Security out there, maybe you have this retirement savings, 401k, something of the likes, that you're able to do that. But start thinking of that way as generating the income. Your income becomes your lifestyle in retirement, just like in your working years. Got to have more coming in than going out, right? So if you'd like to talk to these, or maybe you're struggling with something else with your retirement planning, give us a call on the screen. We'd love to talk to you. Have a free, no obligations visit here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, in of our 4 locations here in northern Michigan.
Yeah, there's a lot of behaviors out there that could negatively impact your retirement. One of the ones that kind of bugs me the most, and here at Centennial Wealth, we deal with primarily either nearing or in retired couples and individuals, but every once in a while we'll have a couple come in on the younger side, maybe in their late 40s or early 50s, and they think that they've started too late and they'll never have enough money to retire and live comfortably. And that just, it bugs me, because they don't start. They don't want to start stocking away money. And Vanguard did a study and they came up with, okay, the average 50-year-old has about $160,000 in their 401k. But a 2019 governmental study indicated that 48% of the American population has zero saved for retirement. That's just crazy, right? So, I mean, even if you don't have much saved in your 50s, don't get worried about it. Now's the time to start, okay? And you think about it, a lot of people, when they're in their 50s, that might be the best time for them to start stashing away money. The kids have either moved out of the house, they're no longer living with the parents anymore, and maybe you've climbed the career ladder and your salary is that much higher, so you can divert that much more money to stocking away and saving for retirement. Don't get down on yourself. Just get started saving for retirement.
Yeah, I love that. It's easy to procrastinate, especially when you feel like there's a lot of problems with your plan. But that's what we get to help, sift through. We get to help teach. We get to help you understand that, hey, there is hope. There is a way through this. Recently in the Cadillac office, I had a client come in. They were married, 61 and 63 years old. And they said, our jobs are very, very stressful. We're just ready to be done. But we don't have a plan and we don't know how that's going to happen. And because of their ages and in their situations, there are a lot of variables that are interconnected. And so what we got to do was figure out how to eliminate those variables, as many as we could, make a plan behind each of their positions, and they are well on their way to retiring. So we hope that you had a great week joining us, and tune in next week, same time, same channel. See you then.